Hey, in this video I will share my personal story to $12 million in revenue with my own consulting offers, what exact steps were necessary, how my offers looked like, how I won over 1,100 high-ticket clients, what bottlenecks I needed to solve to grow, and how I built a team which reduced my meetings to 5 hours per week. In this video you will get a step-by-step roadmap you can follow if you want to scale your business right now. All right, let's start with the roadmap for this video. So I'll guide you through my offer structure, the sales process I used, my 8-figure marketing playbook, and the team building I implemented to scale to 12 million. I think those are the 4 main biggest things which, were challenging for me, which had the biggest impact. So I'll just guide you through all of those steps. So we start with my offer structure. And I think when you have a consulting business, everyone kind of starts the same. So you do one-on-one coaching, and then at some point you realize, okay, it's not really scalable anymore. Then maybe I scale to group coaching. Then maybe you start to build a fulfillment team. Then at some point you realize, hey, I need more profit. I doubled my prices. I implemented high-ticket upsells, so I got even more offers which I sold. And then I created a community with live events to even scale that further. And I will go to all of this now in detail. So let's start with the offer structure. And like I said, I think the best way to start your consulting business is to do everything on your own and to do everything one-on-one, because there you learn the most. You get used to your clients, you see what their problems are, you learn how to help them as quick as possible, and then you just learn all the principles. And if you have, for example, a very specific niche, which I used to have, so I'm still consulting photographers and videographers in Germany, and I run the biggest consulting company in whole Europe for this niche. And so in the beginning, I needed to start to learn and to get to know this audience. So what are they struggling with the most? What are their biggest concerns? Why is their business not growing? What mindset problems maybe they have? All of the thought processes they have when it comes to their business, winning new clients, growing their business. And I did that for maybe like half a year or something. I did only one-on-one coaching until I had maybe like 30 clients or something. And what I realized by that point, I was like, I'm almost like kind of burning out, because I have to do the coaching calls with them. I have to do sales calls. I have to maybe do qualification calls. I have to run my taxes and organization. Like, I was doing everything in my company on my own. And by that point, I think I was making like 30K a month or something. So I was doing everything on my own. I knew exactly what the problems from my target audience was, photographers and videographers. And in my field, it was they had no strategy to win new clients. They always sold themselves undervalued, so they didn't really believe that they are worth more. They only focused on clients which maybe were fulfilling to them, but didn't really have a lot of money. They had no sales structures in their company involved. So basically, they were only focusing on the fulfillment because they love it. They are passionate, they're photographers, but they were not really focusing on marketing and sales. And I learned that very quickly because I was working one-on-one with them. So that's my biggest takeaway for you, is if you start your company right now, it doesn't really matter if you are in coaching, consulting, if you have an agency business, I would recommend you become really, really good at solving their problem. Because if you learn what their problems are and if you become good at it, you become so much better at copywriting, at marketing, shooting ads, writing a sales script, all of the stuff which really matters if you want to build like a multi-million-dollar business. You have to be good at knowing your target audience. So, but at some point, like I said, it's too much. Then you need to grow. Then you need to scale. You have an offer which is scalable. So I decided to change from one-on-one coaching to group coaching, which allowed me to implement like maybe 3-4 live calls every week. And in the live calls, there maybe were 20, 30, 40, 50 people So I was not limited anymore how many new clients I could onboard in my company. And which also allowed me, if some people want to have still one-on-one access to me, I can charge them a higher price, because the group coaching is like the normal base salary, but you always have like this 10-20% top clients in your company which are willing to pay more because they want to progress faster than everyone else. And those people you can charge a one-on-one offer, which before was your just normal offer, and now it's like the premium offer. Okay, so this was the biggest change I made, changing from group coaching to one-on-one coaching. And my biggest disbelief back in the time was I can't really do it because everyone wants to work with me one-on-one, and it's only negative if I switch now, maybe I lose clients. Like, I had so many thoughts in my head that it's such a bad idea to change, and that's why I also waited for super long time to change. And even though I knew I couldn't scale any further because of I was like limited of like one-on-one meetings, I knew I had to make that change, but I was still scared. And when I did it, I was shocked because nothing bad happened. People were not even complaining about it. Like, they even liked it. So because photographers and videographers, most of them are more like beginners. They want to make like maybe 10K a month or something, which I consider like a beginner. So for them, it was really, really nice to see all of the other creators in the live calls, which they could relate to. They see like, oh, I have the same problems, the same struggles. This is how they do it. Okay, I can learn from them. And they ask questions I was not even planning to ask, but it was still super valuable listening to the answers and the questions of the other creators, because I can implement it one-on-one in my business. So that was a huge takeaway from me, which still today in my business, which created more than 8 figures, I still have group calls on top with one-on-one coaching and stuff, which I have. But a group call is super, super valuable to create a community, to create relatability, so that people have a community feeling. Okay, so that was a huge learning for me. I was so scared to do it, and when I did it, my business like skyrocketed because I could onboard so many new clients. So that was the first big thing which I did. Then I had to build a fulfillment team, because I was like, if I work non-stop on consulting those clients, like non-stop, even though I have the group calls, I still maybe have one-on-one tech support, or maybe with some clients I even have one-on-one coaching calls. I was like very consumed by doing the fulfillment. And I also felt like it's the same stuff they need to implement all the time. So I felt it felt very tiring to me to tell them over and over and over again. I was like, I can just teach somebody and they can tell it to them. It doesn't need to be me, but I know by now so perfectly what they need, in which order, in which time frame they can implement it, what results they can get. So I can just create this perfectly crafted video training, onboard teammates like coaches who can consult them, like maybe even one-on-one, so I don't have to do it. So then in my head, I was like, if I hire coaches, which I can train them exactly the method which I developed to make my clients super successful, I can like duplicate myself. And then it grew to, I have like multiple coaches, and one coach could basically consult like 50 to 100 clients. So I was able, if I have 2, 3, 4 coaches, to consult maybe like 200 to 400 clients at the same time, and I don't even have to do it. So that was like a crazy, crazy change for me in my belief system, because I was like, if I build this team, not only can I accept way more clients, because of we have more clients, we get even better at consulting them, because we get more feedback, we get more insights of what works, what doesn't work. And if you have a company which has over 1,000 clients like I do, you become at some point really good at solving your clients' problems. You become really, really good at it, because you've seen everything. You've seen all the problems, all the struggles, what worked, and you haven't seen it just 3 times, you've seen it like 800 times. So you know exactly what to do. So not only we became better at solving our clients' problems, but also what I realized, because I was just overworked so much because I was doing everything on my own. Now that I had those coaches, which worked with my clients one-on-one and in group calls, whatever, they were so excited to work with them. And because they were so excited, the clients had even better results, except I work with them all the time. And I'm like, I don't know, like I'm so drained. I have almost no energy and I only see them as beginners. So my coaching team was excited to help them. Not that I was not excited too, but if you have so much work and you're so stressed all the time, at some point a coaching call doesn't even become like super nice to you anymore. It just becomes like another task of what you have to do. But for the coaches, they were so loving what they were doing. And so the clients had even better results. Okay. So that was a huge part. And I will tell you more on how you find good team members by the end of the video. So stick around. How I built and trained the fulfillment team, because what you have to understand, yes, it comes with a lot of nice perks. You can outsource it, they are happy, but you have to understand, if you are like me and if you have like the #1 company, for example, in one niche, like with photographers and videographers, like I'm basically the guy who can teach them the best, like out of everyone. So if I hire a coach, of course, they can't do it as good as I do, because they don't have the experience from the hundreds of clients I've worked with before. But so you have to understand, you have to teach them a lot. And this is a huge problem I see in a lot of companies. They hire a lot of team members, but they don't really train them properly. And that's a huge problem, because if you don't train them properly, people don't extend the contract with you because they don't have any results. So just hiring and outsourcing everything, but don't delivering the same results anymore to your clients, it's a very, very bad idea. It's very short-term thinking. So upselling a client is the easiest thing you can do to scale your company right now. So you need to focus on delivering exceptionally good quality when it comes to your results. Okay, but I will tell more about this later. The next thing I did was, at some point, I just doubled my prices. And there was also a huge concern in my head, which was like, can I even do it? Like, can I just double my prices? Will I just not lose everyone? And people would say, oh, then I will just go to a different coach and my closing rate will go down. And the best tip I can give you, just look at your numbers. And if you have a 2 closing call sales process, which I will teach you later in this video too, which I implemented. So basically you qualify your lead and you really make sure they are a good fit for you, they have money, they can start soon. Like, you really qualify them as a good lead. And then you do like a one-on-one consultation call, a free one, where you try to sell them the product. And what we realized, that on the sales call, we had a closing rate of over 80%. So out of 10 calls, we closed 8 people, which is really, really high. So in my head was like, if so many people are buying it, it's probably a good sign that the product is not, the price is not high enough. Because otherwise more people would say no to the price. But because so many people say yes, it's a very, very good factor that you can raise your prices. So if you close at the moment almost everyone in your sales call, don't think, oh, I'm this genius closer, I'm this genius salesperson. No, you're too cheap. So what we did, I think at the time we had packages like 3K and 5 or 6K or something. And then we'd almost double it to 5K and 10K. And what we realized, our closing rate only went down by 10%. So out of 10 calls, we didn't close 8, but 7. So we technically lost 1 client, but on every other client, we made double the money. So you can imagine how much more profit my company made, because I also didn't have to do more work, because we just doubled the price. We didn't give them anything additional. So that's a huge thing what I see with most companies. They are just way too cheap. way too cheap. And you always think, no, I'm not too cheap because people tell me, oh, but that's a good price, I want to buy it and stuff. Yeah, but you never get good feedback from your customers when they buy, because they always, of course, want to have the cheapest price. But you have to ask a really good question is, so once you sold them and they have good results, like just call them, say, hey, Steve, just wanted to call you. It seems like you're very happy with our service. And out of curiosity, what would have been the maximum price you would have paid for our partnership? And trust me, you will be shocked how honest they are and how much of a bigger number they would tell you. So try to get as much feedback on the way from your customers, but not in a sales call, like after you've consulted them, and then raise your prices. The next big thing which we did was we implemented more high-ticket upsells. So in the beginning, I only had 2 coaching programs. I had 3 months and 6 months. And then I was like, that's enough. You don't really need it more. And then I learned something so valuable, which I'm very sad that I learned it so late in my coaching career, because I probably would have made another 5 million additional extra on top. But basically, when you go into a sales call and you offer them your offers, and you give them, for example, 3 months and 6 months, like, of course, they're going to choose A or B. And that's a very big learning already. People choose from the options they have. So if you give them A or B, they're not going to choose C. So if your options are not 3 months and 6 months, but it's 6 months and 12 months, in average, you will sell way more like longer programs, because they will choose because from B and C. So if you, for example, just tell them, hey, we just have a 12-month program, like, most people will choose it. And if they say, oh, I can't really afford it, whatever, then you can downgrade to like 6 months. And if they can't even afford that, you can downgrade to 3 months. But if you start saying, yeah, we just have 3 and 6 months, they will, a lot of times, will just choose 3 months. So this was a huge learning. What we have is offer them just longer durations of your programs. It doesn't really matter if you're an agency, if you're a consultant, just whatever you sell right now, just sell more and longer of it. And you will be shocked how many people will just say yes immediately. Some people even like it. They will say, oh, I think 12 months is a way more reasonable time for me achieving my goal. I'm very happy you actually offer that. So a lot of people, they just like it. And what we did is, so we still, in the beginning of my coaching offer, I had 3K and 6K. And then, like I said, I doubled my prices. And then I implemented high-ticket programs even to like 30K. And my average customer lifetime value per client, and you have to keep in mind, I was selling to photographers and videographers, not big business owners. My average client number was $12,000. My average. So, and even considering my starting offer is 3K. So we were really good at delivering good results for them, and then upselling them a bigger package after that. So just keep in mind to think about higher ticket programs, extend them, and also just choose higher prices. You have to make more profit. If your company is not really profitable, you can't scale. Okay, I will come to that later. The next point and last point, like, of course, I did hundreds of things, but in this video, I want to focus on the most important ones and the biggest ones. So the last one, when it came to my offer, what we implemented was live events, because my whole company was remote. I was traveling all the time and had a very good life. And what we realized is that people were missing a connection. They wanted to feel connected with other creators, with other people which were clients in my company. So we created live events. We had 2 different live events. We had one which everyone could came to. It was for free. and it was in Germany, and hundreds of our clients were coming and they were connecting, and we booked a 5-star hotel and it was super, super luxurious. We paid for everything. So people were like, even like, wow, that's crazy that you do that for us. Like, you pay for everything. Like, of course I'm gonna come. So we did a live event. Not only the community aspect grew, but on the live event, the hype of everything was so big. People were so excited and they want to grow their business that on those live events, on the first one, we did 300,000 euro. So that's like $400,000 in 1 hour on one live event. And I didn't even sell a package. Just my team did it. So after the event, my closer, he came to me, he's like, hey bro, just to let you know, we made 400,000 today. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, people just loved the live event and I just sold some packages to them. So having a live event is so important in a world where just everything is online. So not only community building, you can upsell. That was the first live event, which we did for every year for like 6 years in a row. And then also we had a mastermind, which was only for like the number 1% of our clients. It was only like 14 people or something. And in this live event, in the mastermind, it was like a 4 or 5 day event. It was like in Cape Town, Marbella, in Spain, like all those different nice places. And there we created the most amazing footage ever of those events. And every one of my clients wanted to be a part of that journey, that mastermind. So we created a big hype with those events. It was not even my goal to make a lot of profit from the event. It was just to create the content and the amazing journey that people spend time with me, to have this one-on-one aspect, and that the top creators come together every year. So a lot of different creators from Germany, they texted me, oh, I want to be part of this mastermind. It looks so sick. And I see a lot of like high individuals are there. So it was really, really crucial for us to create those events and to create a hype, a community, and which made us very individual, because all the other coaching and consulting companies, they didn't really do it. And if they didn't really like focusing on one niche, like creators like we do, those events didn't really feel like a community event for creators. So we had something like one in a kind, like nobody else did. So those were the biggest things we did when it comes to improving our offer, the bottlenecks we had, and the journey we did to scale up to even 500,000 per month, just in Germany and just with photographers and videographers. So you can imagine if you have a company which has like your clients are worldwide and you're not only in one niche, like the possibility to scale even further is so much bigger if we did like 500,000 just in 1 month, like several months. Okay. So this was my biggest learnings when it came to my offer structure. All right, then now let's come to the sales process I use and exactly step by step, how we structured it. And I want to point out 3 things. So first of all, we got to look at a 2-call closing process, which I talked about a little bit earlier in this video already. Then how I wrote a sales script after doing 700 plus sales calls like on my own. And then how I built a sales team and structured it, that nowadays I don't do any sales anymore, no outreach, no sales calls, no qualification call on my own, like everything my team does. Okay. So let's start with the first one. And I think nowadays there are a lot of different ways to close a deal. So you can first of all just do a 1 call. So somebody goes on your landing page, books a call, and you consult them and you close them immediately. What I've realized in the past 7 years, closing over 1,100 high ticket deals, is that especially in the coaching industry, a lot of people, they have trust issues. So if you do an ad, for example, and you run it to an VSL and then they book a call, they have no idea who you are. Like, they don't have the courage to being close on the first first time on a call with you like immediately. They don't want to pull the trigger on the first call because trust is lacking. They don't have seen enough from you, from your expertise, from your YouTube videos, whatever you might like do online to help people already for free. So what we do, we basically set up the sales process in 2 calls. First one, we have a qualification process where we ask mainly 3 questions. We ask the people, are you ready to invest 5 hours per week? So do you have enough time to actually work on the coaching with us? Second of all, are you down to accept new strategies? Are you in a position in your life where you are happy to take on a coach? Like, do you gonna listen to them? And third of all, do you have minimum, and then you say the cheapest product you have, do you have a minimum of, for example, $5,000 to invest? And do you actually have it? Not only are you willing to, but do you have it in your bank account? And if you ask those 3 questions, do you have time? Are you committed? And do you have the money? And they say yes to all of them, then only they get a second call, which we call a consultation call, but internally we call it like a sales call because the goal is to make a sale. So, and then you consult them for like 60 to 90 minutes for free. And in this call, you have the goal to close the deal by the end of the call. This is how we structured the company. And I've tried everything. I've tried 2 call, and then I went back to 1 call, and then I went back to 2 call again, and then I tried to do the sale on my own, and I had different sales managers and sales reps do it. And let me tell you, if you want to scale your company to multiple 7 figures, the best process is a 2 call closing process with a 15 to 20 minute qualification call, and then a 60 to or 45 to 90 minute closing call, depending on how much value you and your personal brand are delivering online already. Like me, for example, in my niche, I had hundreds of YouTube videos already, which the client or the potential client could watch before the sales call already. So they know everything, what we do, how we do it, testimonials, like the results we can get to people. So they came pretty good prepared already. So, but if you don't have that in place, if you don't have a strong personal brand, for example, you need to put in more time in the sales process, because you basically, those are the only 2 touch points you have to build the trust. Okay. So this is what we did. And what I can highly recommend to you, I can make a whole video about this topic, like how we set up the sales process, how you train them, etc. But what I highly recommend you doing is a person who qualifies them and a person who closes the deal, like the 2 call process. Ideally, it's 2 different people, because if it does the same person, they basically gonna set an appointment on the first meeting for the closing call, but they are setting a call for themselves. And there's nothing bad about it, but if you set it for a different person, you just have a lot of sales tactics you can use to make that second call sound super important. You can say, hey, yes, we have this top advisor in our company. He only accepts like people where we think you are a good fit and people who actually take it very serious. So I would give you this call, but only if you can guarantee me you show up on time, you prepare for this call, you take it serious, and you are happily to take on advice. So it seems like a very, very important person, and people, the show up rate is way higher if you do it like this. So this is what we did, implemented a 2 call closing process. And our closing rate at the end, or at the moment right now, is somewhere between 70 and 80%. This is what it's used to be. And depending on how hard you do the qualification call, you can also say, yeah, maybe I let through everyone, and then my chances of closing a person is just way higher. But trust me, if you do this, you have hundreds of sales calls with people who are unqualified, and then you think you are bad at sales because you're basically speaking to people who don't have the money anyways, but you still think, oh, I didn't manage to close them, like sold them my package. Yeah, they had no money. So you're not a bad salesperson, you spoke to the wrong person. So our closing rate is somewhere between 65 and 80% usually. It depends on how good the person was qualified, sometimes also a little bit of luck, of course, but aim for something like 70%. If it's way lower than 70%, you probably did a pretty bad job on the qualification call because you just let through every person who was not even qualified in the first place. The next thing what I did is, in the beginning, I didn't have a sales team. Like, I didn't have a closer. I always had a person who was qualifying the leads for me. It was my first employee, actually. I had an assistant, and then she started to do the qualification calls for me too, so that I could focus on the closing. And I did something around like 700 sales calls on my own, and my closing rate at the end was something like 95%. So I was pretty good at it. But I have to say, as a CEO, you have a very big advantage, because if you're the face of your brand, people are way more willingly to buy from you than just a closer they have never seen before. It's quite normal. So I don't want to brag with the number 90 or 95% because it's usually a bit higher when it comes to CEOs anyways. But if you're closing yourself and your closing rate is like below 70 or something, you have to train on closing a deal because you have such a big advantage, and then you're just not good enough. Okay. So I became really, really good at closing. And what I've learned is that almost after a couple of hundred sales calls, it has the same process. Like, a sales call always runs through the same phases if you do it correctly. So the first phase, you have to basically set the frame for the call. You tell them, hey, this is what's going to happen in the call. Then you have to reinsure that the person is qualified. Hey, are you willing to move on forward? Did you prepare for this call? Are you committed? Like, do you think we're a good fit for us? Like, you double check if they're actually committed. Then you ask what goals and desires and problems they have, just to put them on the table. Hey, this is a problem you have, and I can help you with this. The fourth one, you show them what actually the biggest problems of the niche are you are serving. Like, hey, 80-90% of all photographers, videographers have this and this problem. And then they say, yeah, I actually have the same. Yes, of course, because 80-90%, and you know your clients. So this is why you only say stuff which to a broader audience obviously appeals. So then you speak about the main problems, and then you talk about the fifth, how you solve it. Then you talk about how your solution looks in detail, how the training, the calls, whatever, and then you make the offer. So it's those 7 steps which has to be in a sales call, which I developed to make like 80-90% closing rate. And every call was the same. Like, every call is the same. So after like a couple of hundred sales calls, it also becomes pretty boring. If you're really good at it, it's still nice when a person like says, yeah, let's do it, and you get paid 10,000 euros somewhere. It's still nice, but it got very boring. And I became very good at it. So instead of just doing it over and over and over again and couldn't leverage it again because I was in sales calls all day long, I thought, hey, now I need to hire people and I need to train them properly. So I wrote a sales script just with the 7 principles I just told you. And I wrote exactly the phrases and the tone and how I said stuff when I did the sales calls. Sometimes even a small joke or something I made because it resonated with most of the people. So I wrote the sales script from all of my experiences, and then I hired a closer. This was a huge step in my business, which happened, I think, 4 years ago today. And this closer nowadays, he made probably 6 million already. He closed in volume for my company. So just because I was closing so many deals, I was only able to wrote a sales script, give it to the closer. He could implement it immediately, even though he had no idea from photographers, videographers. Like, he has never worked with them, so he had no expertise. But because of the sales script, he could implement it immediately. And his closing rate was not 90%, but it was like 80, 70, 75 or something. So just 10% worse or something like I do, which I think is a good ratio. If you have a really good closer, it should probably be like maybe 10% worse than if you would do it, because like I said, you have the advantage of using your own face. Okay. So, and then the last part is, then I had to hire this closer, and I had to train him, and I had to track what he was doing. And the best tip I can give you here, and I can make a whole video of how to train sales reps and closers for you, that you never have to do a sales call again in your life. Like I said, for the last 4 years, I haven't been involved in my company in doing this, and I'm still making 200, 300, up to 500K every single month, even with a sales team, which I trained, and they run everything. And the most important thing when you hire a sales team is you have to be really good at, first of all, training them, and second of all, tracking their KPIs. And running a sales team is very unemotional. It just comes down to numbers. Are they hitting their KPIs? Why are they not hitting it? You also have to fire people if they are not hitting it. You have to find out what really motivates them, and then you have to train them every single week. And the biggest thing I did training my sales team, like when it comes to this closer, for example, I recorded all of my sales calls. Like I asked the prospects, hey, can I record the call? If you decide working with us, we can show it to the coaches. They can get to know you, etc. So it was never a thing. Like, everyone said, yeah, cool, you can just record it. And then I had like 100 recordings of sales calls of me. And then I showed it to my closer, and he watched all of them. And he was like, well, you really stick to the script, right? I'm like, yes, because it works. So not only did he have a script, he had the proof that I did it like this, and he had hundreds of videos watching me how I did it. So I could train him really, really good. And then he started doing calls, and I was in the call. I just shut down my my camera. So I just had a black screen. It was a potential client and my closer. And while he was doing the sales call, I texted him privately, hey, ask this question. Hey, focus on this. Hey, there's an objection you need to handle which you didn't see. So I was in the sales call with him, training him live. And then the next step was, he did sales calls on his own. He recorded them. And then I gave him advice afterwards. So I told him, hey, okay, let's look in this call. And then I looked very specific on the gestures of the prospect. Like, do I think they were lying? Do they seem nervous? Do they want to like escape a question or something? Are they avoiding like anything? So I was like, I told him, hey, stop here really quick. And then I asked him, my closer, like, why did you ask this question? Or at this exact point, you should have went deeper. You should have asked this and this question. So you can train them super, super hands-on. And I trained him for like, I think 3 or 4 months, like every day, every single day. And then he became really good. He's still in my company nowadays. He just runs it. And sometimes I still give him advice when I see he's emotional, he's not hitting the KPIs, whatever. But it just runs on autopilot because he has a script, which sometimes he doesn't even need the script anymore because now he knows it in his head. But he still knows, hey, you have to do point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he can record it if he has any questions. So that's the best way to train a sales rep, in my opinion. Okay. So those were the main sales thing I used to do. So also what I need to do is I optimize my qualification process. I got obsessed with testing and KPIs. And also I collected more money upfront because this was a huge problem I saw too. And I will go in detail now. So when we won all of these leads, like hundreds and hundreds of leads every week, every month, and what we realized is if people don't come prepared to a qualification call or a sales call, it's really, really hard to close them on the call. It's really hard. So what I got obsessed with is optimizing my qualification process. So I was just focusing on optimizing my funnel, my thank you page, the script my team used, also the tools where we were tracking. And what I can really, really recommend you doing is look at your potential client, what journey they are going through from the moment they see you the first time until they become your client. And what I realized is that a lot of people have trust issues. So I got obsessed with how do I make sure that they have as much trust as possible before the sales call. So implementing the qualification call is a huge step because there you can ask them a lot of questions. You can also tell them, please watch this video and this and this and this. But what you can also do is when a person books a call, like in your funnel, in your landing page, your VSL, whatever you have, and then you guide them to a thank you page. And most people, they have a thank you page like, hey, thank you for booking this call. I'm excited to see you next week when we have our meeting. That's it. Maybe they have even a video. What I did was I created a thank you page where I said, hey, thank you for booking this call. Now in this video, I will explain to you everything what you need to do before your call in order to be prepared that we can consult you the best way and guarantee the best results. So I made it about them, not about us wanting something from them. And then I showed them YouTube videos, like 60, 70-minute YouTube videos they needed to watch. I showed them a lot of testimonial videos. I had a Q&A section with the most recent asked questions. So I made them consume as much content as possible. So when they were in the sales call and we asked them, hey, did you look at the videos? They were like, yeah, I looked at them. They were super nice. Like, I basically know everything right now. And then not only our closing rate went up, the sales call, the length of it was reduced because we didn't have to teach them like the basic stuff because they knew all of this from the videos already. So that's a huge advantage you can use is optimize not only the sales call itself, but the process before. Make sure prospects come highly, highly prepared to the sales call. It's what we call pre-framing. You frame them before the call so that they know exactly what to expect, what to do. And trust me, it's so much easier to close them. In the next step, I really got obsessed with KPIs. So I was tracking everything. I was automating everything in my HubSpot system. I was tracking everything on Meta, on Google, on my landing pages. I was tracking everything. And what I realized is that sometimes you and your sales team, you speak about some stuff and you maybe have emotions. Oh, this and this is not going good and this and this and this. But sometimes the data shows the complete opposite. That, for example, what we realized is I have a podcast and I only interview creators there. And in my head, I was like, the podcast is not really working. I don't know if I should continue doing it. And what we started tracking is how many of the new clients have actually seen the podcast and my YouTube videos. And the number was 80%. So in my brain, I was like, I don't know if I should continue this, but it was one of the most important touch points from my clients to win trust, to believe in us, in me and my team, my products, them watching the videos. And we tracked that in our HubSpot system. We asked them in a sales call. I even made it a required field when some of my team closed a new deal. So I got all of this data, which showed me what type of content were my clients watching. And this is what I really, really highly recommend to you doing, is that you get obsessed with testing and KPIs. And most people, if you ask them, hey, what's your acquisition cost? What's this? They have no clue. Like, they don't know any of their numbers. And that's the reason why they are not scaling. Okay. And the last thing in my sales process, I did a lot of things, but those, like I said, are the most important ones. So one of the other reasons, or the stuff I implemented, was collecting more money up front. And I think this is probably one of the biggest problems most companies in the world have, especially coaches, agencies, because they sell their products on those payment plans. Yeah, no problem. You can pay in 12 months, 6 months, whatever. And it seems cool on a sales call if you do that, because basically you build a lot of trust with them and you can win more clients. Maybe that's what you're telling yourself. But trust me, if you don't collect more money up front, your business will never grow. Why? First of all, you only get the money in the future, but the problem is sometimes you never get the money because people get broke, you have to sue them, they are ghosting you. There's so much money in my company, which I'm probably never getting because I still sold some old tickets, which I allowed them to pay in many rates, which I'm not doing anymore, but I used to do it. So people just pile up this monthly payments and some of them never really pay it. So the problem is if you don't have the money now, you can't invest it now. You can't invest it in a team. You can't invest in ads, in better personal brand, in your lifestyle. You technically don't have the money. But the revenue just seems so cool. And this is what I see with so many entrepreneurs. You ask them, how much money do you make? They're like, yeah, I make 2 million a year and something. Then you ask them, okay, how much revenue, how much cash flow do you actually have a month? And they're like, yeah, like 30K. I'm like, wait, what? You just told me you make 2 million, but you make 30K cash flow? That's like 400 grand a year. Where's the rest 1.6 million? And then they say, yeah, they just pay later or they start next year or something. This is not how you scale a business. Only cash collected money really, really matters. Trust me, I've made this mistake and I've changed it at one point in my company. I only accept people who pay minimum 30 to 50% upfront, like on the first day before the training even starts. And usually I collect 100%. So what that also does, your client is way more committed because they paid all this money upfront. They're like, yeah, now I want to see results. Yeah, now they are invested. If people just pay in 100 payments, they're not really committed anyways. Okay, so those are the main learnings I did when it comes to structuring the sales process, which I used. All right, let's come to my 8-figure marketing playbook. And those are the topics I want to cover. So how I started using Facebook groups to scale my business. Then I figured out ads. I did webinars. I created marketing hypes in my industry. So in the photography and videography industry. Then I focus on creating an omnipresence. So being on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google, like everywhere. Then how I collected hundreds of leads per week with an automation called ManyChat. And then how I focus on creating more value than anyone else in this industry. So let's start with the Facebook groups. And I still think it's a good method to win new clients so that you either join Facebook groups, like for example, let's just say you are a personal trainer And there's a lot of groups which are focused on health, like supplements, training, nutrition, sleep, recovery, whatever. And you can join them, so you know for a fact that in those groups there are people who are interested probably in your service because they are interested general in these topics. So what I did, I created a Facebook group for photographers and videographers, which just gave them free access to, I don't know, video, free training. I chatted with them in the group. So what I did was I ran ads to the Facebook group, and then people joined the Facebook group. Then in the group, I chatted with them, provided free value. And then at some point I said, hey, do you want to have more guidance on this? Do you want to speak one-on-one with me? And then I started closing them. So this was a strategy I used in 2019, and it only works if your audience are willing to join a group or are in a group because they like to look at content. Like, let's just, for example, you have a target audience of hospital owners or dentists, let's just say. They are not the people who join a group because they want free value or something. They don't have time for that. So you have to look if it fits your audience. And for me, it fitted my audience. So this was how I started and gave them free value, tried to pitch in Messenger for a call, and then I did the 2-call sales process, qualification, sales call, and then I closed them. So this was one of the first strategies I use. And you can nowadays, for example, use school groups, which I would say the more popular Facebook groups nowadays. So this is 100% a valid strategy, which I started with. I was making 10K, 20K a month or something. Then in the next step, I figured out ads. Like, I was not running just ads to a Facebook group. I was running them to a VSL, to my landing page, to webinars, like to freebies, like all of that stuff. So by now, after running ads for I think 8 years, 9 years, or even 10 years by now, I've spent like 1.3 million or something. And on those 1.3 million, my return, I made 12 million. So I don't know any coach who has a ROI like this, who is more than 10 or like 9 or something. So my ads were really, really profitable. And I will do a whole video on this. It's already planned. How I spent 1.4 million ads and how I made 12 million. So watch out for this video. I will tell you exactly my process, what ads I use, what landing pages, what worked, what didn't work, where I was just, I don't know, wasting money, but also which landing pages had the best ROIs. But basically, I figured out what were my clients' problems, what were their needs, and then I was just building very basic landing pages with a VSL, and I pitched directly on a call to them. So I was not doing, hey, collect the email, whatever. I was just tell them, hey, here, book your free call. And then people book the call, and then again, the two sales call process, qualification, sales call. And then this is how we won like probably 60 or 70% of our yearly clients. And we were winning like, I don't know, 200 clients or something per year in average, 200 to 300, I would say. And so figuring out ads, I think nowadays is way harder than it used to be back in the time, because back in the time, people didn't really have a lot of trust issues. Nowadays, in 2025, people have so much trust issues because of war, inflation, scammers, like so many bad coaches. They have so much trust issues. So nowadays, if you just do an ad straight to a VSL or straight to a landing page and they should book a call, in my opinion, your personal brand needs to be in check. It needs to be really, really good that people actually book a call immediately with you. If they don't know who you are, if they don't find a lot of trust online on you, your personal brand, your clients' results, you are screwed. Like, people will probably not gonna book a sales call with you. So this is the biggest tip I can give you right now. If you want to figure out ads, focus on your personal brand too, because people nowadays, they don't click on it immediately and just sign up and just transfer you 10,000. They want to have free value. Like this video, for example. This is a 1-2 hour video where I'm giving so much free knowledge, which you can implement everything. You don't even need my help. You can just use all the stuff I'm saying here, and it builds trust because it's from my experience. I built a $12 million business. I show you exactly what I did. You can implement it. Stuff like this builds trust. An ad can't really do that. So running ads is super nice. I do it every single month, every single day. Thousands of dollars, like 5 figures every month. But you have to work on your personal brand, and you have to test landing pages, checkout process, funnel systems constantly, all the time. If you want to be good at ads, be willing to invest a lot of time in testing and spending and building your personal brand. So the next thing I did, where I was putting a lot of effort in, was webinars. Nowadays, I would never do it again, because I think a YouTube video is way better than a webinar. Because first of all, a YouTube video is for free. Getting people in a webinar, it cost me thousands of dollars. Like running ads, them signing up. Also, the show-up rate on my webinars was 50%, which is pretty good, but you still lose 50% of all the leads immediately. So then maybe some people can't join on the night of the webinar, they missed it, or they had to leave, or so you lose them immediately. A YouTube video, they can save it, they can watch it later, they can press pause, whatever. So nowadays, I would never run a webinar again. I would focus on a YouTube video. It's, for me, it's the better webinar. But I did a lot of webinars, really successful, where I had thousands of people registering, like thousands of people, and I had 50% show-up rate. So what I was doing, I was running webinars, live webinars. I never recorded them and just one of those fake webinars. I always did live webinars, and I had hundreds of people, 300, 400, 500 people live in the webinar. And what I did there, like I did them a lot of value for free, like I do in this YouTube video. And then at the end, I pitched something special. Like, for example, if you become our client after this, like if you book a call and then you decide to become our client, you will get the first month for free, or you get this template for free, or you get this module of our training program. So I always added something and only gave them a 24-hour period where they could book their call. I also tried it to make it not as I also tried it not putting a deadline, and it all the time when I did that worked really bad. So you have to put a time frame on it. Say like, hey, if you book in the next 24 hours, you get this gift. This works really well, because people have this like FOMO, like the fear of missing out. They want to have the gift, they want to have the special offer. They also saw you in the webinar like over delivering. So this is what I can highly recommend you doing. If you ever run a webinar, give as much value as possible, and then at the end, drop a gift, and it has to be special. Don't just say, yeah, now book a call. It has to be something special, okay? And I remember I had one webinar, and in 1 hour after the webinar, I booked 110 sales calls. Like in 1 hour, like we had so many sales calls that I had to jump in as the CEO too and run some of the sales calls on my own, because we had so many. My team was like so overbooked that we had to open another spots. So that was fun times. But like I said, I would never do it again. I have YouTube videos now on my German channel, which I still have, where I have like, I don't know, 2,000 views on some videos, but the videos are 70 minutes long. So it's like a webinar. And I didn't have to spend any money on the video. And 2,000 people watched it. So now just imagine you have to have 4,000 people applying, because the only 50% show up, right? So you need 4,000 people. And if you spend maybe like, I don't know, €10 for a lead or something, that would be $40,000. So I saved $40,000 just in one YouTube video. And I know by fact, because we use special links where we can track everything under the YouTube videos in German, how many leads I won over this YouTube video. And I won a lot of clients just based off this free video, which was basically like the better version of a nowadays webinar. So this is how I use webinars and how I'm using it today. Then we did something which has never done before in the coaching industry, I would say. Like, I've never seen it before. And it's, we basically invented influencer marketing, but not with influencers, but with creators. Because my clients were creators and they are amazing at shooting those incredible videos. Like all the crazy edits and transitions. Like when you scroll on your Instagram and you see the super sick videos, those are my clients. So what we realized is that people don't really think I'm cool because I'm not the creator. I'm not like them. I'm not the guy who travels to Bali and has the camera everywhere. Like, I'm not one of them. So I swallowed down my ego because I don't really care if they like me. I just wanted to grow my business. So I said, I will use my most successful creators who have the best style, who are the coolest, and they basically shoot an ad for me and recommend me at the end. And I will just give them a profit share of the money we make out of the ads. I've never seen it like this before because, like I said, they are not influencers, they are creators, and they are my clients, and they love me because I made them basically rich. So we did that. And there's a creator called OpenEzo. He's now a good friend of mine, and I've consulted him for 3 or 4 years and scaled him to, I think, 300,000 per year, just being a videographer. And he did this video, which went super viral in Germany. It got 2 million views. And we did like, I think, 200,000 or something in the month where we launched this video. And this was the only video like we run ads to. Like we also had other different creatives based on this video, but we focused the whole month, the whole marketing on this campaign. And now this month we signed 5 more of those collab partners. This is how we call them, collab partners. And so we probably make 100 to 200,000 or something out of each of those collab partners. So we will see. But I think this year we'll probably, it's now September, we probably make this year 600-700K or something just out of those creating those marketing hypes. And this, of course, only works in my niche. So if you are a fitness trainer or something, this maybe doesn't work that well, but you could also, if you have a client who is really successful or really well known, he has a large following or something, you could use them like an influencer and they make a promotion for you. So this is something we did, and I was blown away of how much trust also it gave me, because everyone in the creative industry, they know OpenEzo, and when they saw the video of him preaching me and my coaching, they were like, oh, no, it has to be good. If he says it, it has to be good. So this is something I can highly recommend when it comes to your marketing, that you become creative. Don't just think, oh, I have this VSL and I can just, I don't know, change the color of the landing page, or I change the video. Do something which has never been done before. And when I released this video, hundreds of creators texted me, this was the smartest move ever. Like, I've never seen this before. This was insane, this video. Like, congrats to you guys. Such a great idea. Now I can see why you're so good in marketing. So we got so much positive feedback out of it. So this is one tip for you when it comes to your marketing. Be creative. Like, be creative and do stuff which has never been done before. Then I was like, okay, let's focus on becoming omnipresent. And omnipresent, if you don't know the term, it basically means you see my face everywhere on social media. When you go on LinkedIn, you see me. When you go on YouTube, you see me. When you go on Instagram, you see me. When you're on Google, you see an ad of me. When you watch a different YouTube video, you see an ad of me. So we became really good that regarding of people liking me or not, they saw my face everywhere. And if you have this ability to become omnipresent, on the one hand of you creating content, but on the other hand, you doing paid ads, it becomes very powerful. Because at some point, there's a book called Be So Good They Can't Ignore You. And this is a little bit like the side effect of being omnipresent. People seeing you all the time, in their brain, it immediately means he is good at marketing. He's consistent. He has a plan. He has a structure. And when you become this guy who is omnipresent, trust me, people think about you all the time. It doesn't matter if they like you or not. They think about you all the time. And when it comes to a point where they think about getting help, and you offer help in that field, you are one of the main solutions they would come to. Even if they like you or not, trust me, in their brain, oh yeah, there's Yasha, I see his ads all the time, he's successful, he has a lot of clients. Why not? Why not just look a video of him and see if he's any good? So this is something is really, really powerful, but, and now comes a huge but. I have a team at the moment of 10 full-time employees. I used to have 17 at a time. And becoming omnipresent takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. So if you are just a small business owner, if you just have no employees or 1 or 2, I wouldn't focus on getting omnipresent in the beginning. I would focus on one channel, where your consumers, like your target audience, mostly consumes content. Let's just say, like, let's just pick my target audience, photographers, videographers. They either watch a YouTube video or post on Instagram. So I would not focus on LinkedIn in the beginning. I would only focus on one of them or those 2. Become really good, become present, create value, and then you can build the omnipresence. Don't start with the idea of becoming omnipresent because it ends up you posting everywhere, but you are so lost, you have no time for anything else, and then the stuff you post usually is not that pretty good. So because you just have not much help of a team, okay? So this is when it comes to omnipresent. Then what I did is I used ManyChat, and ManyChat is basically an automation AI tool, which has been around for a lot of years already. And what you can do is you can do a post on Instagram, for example, and you can say, hey, I've done 3,000 sales calls on my own and I have a closing rate of 90%. I made $12 million. If you want to have my sales script from my personal business, comment down below script and I will send it to you personally. You've probably seen videos like this a lot on Instagram. And now imagine 200 people text script. It takes so much time to send them a DM, to send them the link, to ask if they got it, to ask if they open it up. It takes so much time. So ManyChat allows you to link that post with the AI tool ManyChat, and you can pre-write how the AI tool is going to react. So if somebody comments script, it DMs them automatically saying like, hey, saw you commented my post. Do you want to have the script? Yes. Okay, here's the link. Okay. Then a day or 2 later, hey, did you look at the script? How did you like it? Everything automated. So what I did is I created a lot of posts on my Instagram where I did videos like this, where I created freebies. Like every week I created a new freebie. And because we had so much knowledge, we had so much feedback of what they like, almost every of those videos, 100 people or something commented, yeah, I want to have it. Yeah, I want to have it. And then we collected the email addresses. So we gained hundreds of leads every single week. So this is a tool I can highly recommend to you if you're not using it right now. It's called ManyChat, and I think it's like $30 a month or something. So it's so cheap, and it's basically like a full-time sales employee for you. So I can highly recommend this tool for you. And then the last thing we did is I have this theory. If you become the most valuable person in your niche and you give more stuff out for free than other people maybe even charge for, not only that people like you, people know you, people speak about you, people share your content, and people have so much trust in you now because you've helped them already. You showed them that you can help them, that they are way more willing to buy your products. And this is a huge mistake I made in my business in the beginning because I thought the complete opposite. I was like, no, you can't give them everything for free. Then they don't buy from you. Then they don't need you anymore. And trust me, it's complete nonsense. Why? Because even if you give them everything for free, people just don't execute on it. People want an individual plan for themselves. They want a person who guides them, who holds their hand, who says, now you need to do this. This is wrong. Now you need to do this. And it's reasonable. This YouTube video, for example, it has so much value. You can implement everything for free. You don't even need my help probably afterwards. But my business is probably different from your business. The problems you have right now, you want a solution now on a text message. Then you need somebody. It's reasonable. But a video like this, it builds so much trust. So what I did, I created so many videos like this for my German channel, which went hours and hours and hours. I also have a podcast, hours and hours of hours. People never doubted that I could help them again. Never. And also they never commented anything negative under my social media posts saying like, yes, you always post this like bullshit stuff, like help me first, then I can see if you're truly good at what you do and if your claims are actually true. I don't get any of this stuff because if you look at a 60, 70, 80 YouTube video of mine, you get so much knowledge for free. People are not doubting you anymore. And it helps your personal brand tremendously because people actually believe you. Sometimes I get texts every week from people, hey, I just want to say thank you. I'm not your client, but I just want a $10,000 client because of your YouTube video. Thank you. I'll probably join this week later on. I just booked a call with you. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling when people see that you are valuable first, not only on a sales call or something. Okay? So those were the main learnings and the main things we did in the marketing. Of course, I can make a 3-hour video just on how we run ads, how I structured my personal brand, and all of the stuff will follow. So if you like this content, I would highly, highly appreciate if you just follow my channel and yeah, just follow along because I will just share everything here, what I do and what I did in my business. All right, now we come to the last point. And the last point is the team building, okay? And in the team building, I want to focus on 4 things. I want to focus on the right timing. I want to focus on hiring ambitious people, experienced people, and when to hire managers. Those were the four biggest changes in my development in the last 7 years. Okay, so the first problem I see with a lot of people, and I did it too, I think a lot of people, they hire way too late or way too early. And a very good reasonable time to hire somebody is if you make 200,000 or 300,000 per year just on your own. 200-300K a year you can make easily on your own, very easily. If you're very skilled, you can also make $1 million a year or something, but it's very stressful. So if you make maybe like 20K a month, I would highly recommend you hiring a person who helps you with a lot of organization, with like qualification process, with like dealing with clients, maybe fulfillment, like depending on what your business is. So I hired my first employee when I was making like 20-30K a month, and I was working so much that I was like, now I need someone. Otherwise, I can't really hold this anymore. So this was the mistake of mine. I just hire too late. So don't hire too late. But I also see people, sometimes I'm in a free call with them and they tell me, I make 7K a month, but I have 2 employees. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, how do you pay them? And then they always come up with this weird structure or something. They're like, yeah, they only work half time and they only get paid if they do this and this, and they still have this job. And it's like, bro, like the whole structure you run is so weird. It's not efficient. It's not profitable. It's not going to work. So a lot of people, they just hire people because they think then they are a CEO, an entrepreneur, and they're, I don't know, they think they're cool or something. But it doesn't make any sense. It does make no sense for some businesses to hire employees if they make 7K a month or something. It doesn't make any sense. So this was the first big thing in my company. The second thing is, when I made the decision to hire only experienced people, like people who have been in a niche before, like for example, salespeople, they have to be in sales already. Otherwise, I would never hire them. Because what I learned is, when you hire young people, for example, very young, they're very ambitious, they want to work hard, but they have no experience. You have to teach them everything. And then there's a very high chance that they are maybe not good. But if you hire a person who has the skills already, you know for a fact they will do a good job. Maybe they're a little bit more expensive, but you know for a fact they will be good. And the amount of people I've hired and I had hope in them, and then I had to fire them again because they didn't develop how I wanted it. They didn't reach the KPIs how I wanted it. The amount of money, time, effort I wasted on employees, which nowadays I would have never hired again because of their track record, was insane. Like in your brain, you always think, now I have to start again. Now I have to find someone. I have to train them. So the whole process is so exhausting. So trust me, hire people who have more experience. Because you know for a fact, if you test them and if they're actually good at the stuff they are saying, you know for a fact they will not disappoint you in the most basic stuff. So this was a huge learning I did when I started hiring more people. And I have been in 2 joint venture companies already where I used to own a percentage of the company. And if you look at my company, the 2 joint ventures, I've probably hired like overall already maybe like 120 people or something. So I have had thousands of HR calls, meetings where I get to know like new employees or something. So after I delegated all my sales process and all my fulfillment process, at some point you need to be really good at hiring. So I had one call after another, and let me tell you, the people who have more experience are the way safer bets for you to grow your company. Nowadays in my company, there's only people who have an experience. Some people, they are just way better in the stuff than I could ever do it, like editors and stuff like this. So look for people who are experienced. The second thing I learned, and the tip I can give you, is hire slow and fire fast. What do I mean by that? I see a lot of young entrepreneurs and also more experienced entrepreneurs, older ones, who have a lot of undefined hope in their employees. Like they have a lot of hope in them, but for no logical reason. When I ask them, why do you think their behavior will change? Why do you think their KPIs will get better in the future? They have no logical explanation. So if you have a very bad feeling with an employee and you worked it out, like you spoke to them, you gave them first chance, second chance, maybe even a third chance, you showed them exactly how they can improve, but it still doesn't work, then you have to fire them. And it's not because you're a bad person, but it's because you want to build a company and you have responsibilities, especially for your other employees. And if you keep bringing on people with no experience and tolerating their bad KPIs, you send a message to the whole team. And it's not good, because if you have really good employees and they see you tolerate employees who are not bringing anything to the table, they question you being a good leader. So what I learned is, fire faster if you can see already in the beginning, this is not gonna work. No, he's just so much left behind to the other people who started with him maybe at the same. He's so much left behind. It would take a miracle for him to keep up with the other people, and he's not really improving. He's not picking up your feedback. So you have to fire people. And if you hire someone, don't just hire the next best person you find because you need one. Don't do that. Take your time with hiring. You have to become good at leadership skills. It's not something you have or you don't. You have to learn it. You have to learn it by practicing it, by doing it. It's not that you wake up being this born leader or something. That's completely nonsense. So being a good leader, you have to make good decisions. And if you're in an HR meeting, for example, with a potential new employee, ask them uncomfortable questions. Make them prove to you why they are a good fit. Don't just let them say like, yeah, my strengths are I'm this, and yeah, show me. Like, show me why you think you're good at sales. Like, show me. Like, let's run a role play right now and you show me why you think you're talented. Don't just take their word. Like, you have to test the people. And sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable because you say like, I read you're pretty good at sales. You have been in this field for 10 years. I want to see this right now. We will do this in this role play and I will see actually how good you are. Okay? And then they're like, oh, I'm getting nervous. I'm like, yeah, but this is it. Like, this is it. You have to show me now that you're actually capable of doing it. And what I do, what works really, really well is, and with salespeople, for example, you tell them exactly what I just told you, and then you make the role play, and it doesn't really matter how well they do on the first time. You say, okay, stop, and now you give them feedback, what they didn't do, what they maybe could improve on, and then you say, now we run it back, you do it again, but with the feedback, please. And the way they implement your feedback is way more important of how they did on their first run. Because if you see they are adaptable, they take your feedback, they're coachable, that's a huge, huge skill you need to have as a salesperson. That your ego is low, that you're willing to take on feedback, and you want to improve. And all the salespeople who work in my company, they weren't particularly the best people on the first run, but when I gave them feedback, and then they did way better, this shows me they are coachable. They learn super quick. So this is, for example, a skill I would look for when you hire people. And the last point is, at some point, if you want to scale your company, or at least how I did it, you don't need to do it, but this is how I did it. I hired even managers. So I had people who were doing cold acquisition. I had people who were doing qualification calls. I had people who do closing calls. But then I also hired a person who was managing all of those. So I was not even doing it anymore. And this was a huge point, because this person now takes so much time out of your calendar that you can focus on marketing, building a personal brand. But you have to make sure this manager is good. You have to make sure he's driven, he's motivated, just as like you. Because if you get rid of your sales department, which is the most important thing in your company, you basically put all your trust in this manager. Of course, he needs to talk to you and refer to you, and you could check in with them on a weekly meeting and stuff like this. But you trust them a lot. So don't just hire a random manager just because he has a good resume or something. I made my closer, who was in the company for 3 years, who is doing 5-6 million or something. I said, now you qualified and showed me that you're good at what you do. Now you can become the sales manager. So people work up to that position. And on the way, I hired a sales manager who was not in the company before, but he had a really good resume. Horrible. He did horrible. So after like a month or something, I fired him immediately because I said like, you're not doing your job. Sales are not going up. I'm more worried if you do it than when I do it. Like, I don't care about the more time I need to put in, but you doing it is not really working. So I fired him immediately. So you have, like, my recommendation is don't hire an external person. Hire somebody, promote somebody from the team already who showed you for years that he's capable of doing it. So those were the 4 biggest things I learned in those 4 categories when it comes to my offer, my sales process, my marketing, and then my hiring. I think those are the 4 biggest things you can look at when it comes to scaling a company. And those were just examples of what worked for me. Like, of course, I made many mistakes on the way, but the stuff I just shared with you generated me over $12 million. I probably made like 50% profit on that. So pretty good margins. Also running a big team. I had like 17 employees at the highest time. And what I've learned is that you have to look at systems. You have to look at repeatable stuff, which makes your company like a machine. And if you think this video was already valuable for you, then I want to make an offer to you right now. I want to offer you my personal help. But I want to be really honest with you. I only pick very specific clients because I work one-on-one with them. And here are 3 reasons who this is not for. Okay? So if you're not willing to invest 5 hours minimum per week, you are not a good fit for me. If you're not willing to accept help and implement new strategies so that you don't think because you just make 500k a year or something, you are the best CEO in the world. And if you're willing to invest heavily in yourself and in your future and in the potential freedom you can get. If you're not willing in those 3 things, this is not for you what I'm offering right now. But if you are willing to do this, then I would offer you a free consultation call with me one-on-one. You're not going to speak to one of my team members or something. You're going to speak one-on-one to me. So I will take the call personally. I will also ask you a lot of questions before the call so I can prepare myself. I want to give you as much value in this call as possible. And then we can see if we would be a good fit working together. So I'm only working with like 30 to 60 clients one-on-one per year because I want to focus on individuals which are super driven, which have big goals, but are maybe a little bit stuck. They need some help and they don't want to just join the next group coaching program where the quality is super low and they feel like the best performer or something, or they don't get any one-on-one access. Here you have the chance to get one-on-one access to a person who made 8 figures itself, where I will guide you one-on-one on the end. How that exactly looks like, I will teach you everything on the one-on-one consultation call with me. So if this is something for you and you really take that serious to build something in your business, then just click the link down below and I'm very happy to get to know you, your business, and maybe even more excited we both start working together. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This was me, Yasha. See you soon.